Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about usage-based products in Revenue Cloud. I'll take you through the different setup steps. So we'll go through how we can enable rate management, creating rating procedures, rating discovery procedures, creating the product, the units of measures, the usage resources, the product usage grants, and then the rate cards for our product. So the use case we're going to go through today is, let's imagine Tesla starts selling full self-driving as a usage-based product. So they sell it as an evergreen subscription, which includes 10,000 kilometers a year. And then they charge an overage fee 4 kilometers over that for usage of the product, right? So we're going to have 3 tiers of usage above this with descending pricing based on how much you use during the year. So let's jump into Salesforce. All right, so in Salesforce, we'll first head over to setup. We'll look for rate management settings. Under rate management settings, we'll first turn this on. All right, rate management settings are turned on. Then we want to create our different procedures, so the rating, pricing procedure and discovery procedures. So to do that, we'll head over to our expression set templates. So look for the rating procedure, default rating procedure. Open that one, and we'll save it as a new version to create our pricing procedure. So we'll use save as, new rating procedure, leave the name as is on your rating procedure, and hit save. Once saving completes, make sure you add a rank to your pricing procedure and make sure you include your steps in the output of your procedure as well as required. So we'll add everything that's in there and we'll select it as included in output. We'll hit save. Once that's done again, we'll hit activate and our rating procedure is activated. Now we want to go back to our templates and we want to do the same thing with the default rating discovery procedure. Once you get your default rating discovery procedure template, we're going to do the same thing. Save as, new rating discovery procedure, save. Again, that's going to clone this version. Now you get a new version of your discovery procedure. Make sure you set a rank under settings and also make sure that you include in output the different values that are available on there as required. Once that's done, you can again hit save and activate your rating procedure. Back to setup, you're going to go under revenue settings. And under revenue settings, you're going to go in and set your usage rating. Now for this, you don't want to use the pricing procedure for a rating product. You want to use the default rating discovery procedure. And again, make sure that you leave the name as is for this to work correctly. All right, now that this is set, we can move on to our next step. All right, so let's first go in and create the product that we want to use for usage-based products. So we're going to go back to our product catalog management app, and we're going to create a new product. Let's hit new. It's a commercial product. Hit next. Now fill in the different products that the different details you need to set. So we'll use the full self-driving product on here. Product family, no need to set this. Product type is not a bundle, so we'll leave that empty. We'll make sure to set this to active. And you can set all the different values that you need to set on there as required. We'll set our availability date to the beginning of the month. But what I want to make sure you set here is the usage model type. So this is not currently documented, but you want to make sure you select the value under model type. And for the usage model type, we'll set to anchor because we want to be able to charge overage, and you can only charge overage if you set the model type to anchor. Let's hit save. All right, our product is selected. We're going to go in and select our product selling model option, product selling model. So currently for usage-based products, only evergreen products are supported. So you want to make sure you select the product selling model that is evergreen. So we'll select evergreen yearly. We'll select the default proration policy and hit save. Back to our product, we'll go in and set our price book entry as well. So we'll select the product selling model we just selected, evergreen yearly, and we'll set our list price to 5,000. So that's going to be the base price, which includes 10,000 kilometers of usage for our full self-driving product. That's again, it's save. All right, so our product is selected. Before we go in and test this, we're going to want to make sure we sync our decision tables as usual. We also want to make sure we add this within one of our categories. So let's go under, catalogs first. Let's create a new catalog for our Tesla products. We'll set our effective start date. Save. Create a category. Call it cars because we already have a model tree created in this environment. Let's hit save, and then we'll add both the car and the full self-driving option within that category. So let's use full self-driving and then model tree. All right. Next. All right. Both our products are added within our category. Now that this is done, we want to create our units of measure. Before we can create our units of measure, we need to go back under setup and make sure we add a type option within the unit of measure object, because there is a, if we look at the unit of measure object, there's a field called type. It's a pick list. It's required when you create units of measure, but it comes true as blank. Right now, no values are available. We can now head over to the units of measure option within the menu, and we want to create our new unit of measure. So we'll create our first kilometer unit of measure. We see that the type is preset as it's the only option now. Unit code we can set to KM unit of measure class. We're going to come back to. You can have multiple units of measure within one unit of measure class. So we'll set this one to 10, the sequence, and conversion factor to 1. So we'll use conversion factor if you have multiple units of measures that you need to convert between. And let's set the status initially to draft. Let's hit save on our unit of measure. All right, so that's the first one created. So as I said, you could also create multiple units of measure within the same unit of measure class, right? So let's say we want to also have the input unit of measure available as a megameter, which, preparing for this, I've learned is 1,000 kilometers is 1 megameter. So let's create this one. Again, we'll come back and update the unit of measure class. Sequence is going to be 2. And the conversion factor from kilometer, which is our first option, is 0.001. And status, again, is draft. All right, so we've got our units of measures created. Let's go into unit of measure classes. So now we want to create this unit of measure class. Again, it new there. Let's call this, let's reuse the same thing we used for the type field. Let's call this distance. Set a code as required. Status will, again, begin as draft. The base unit of measure is going to be kilometer, and the default is also going to be kilometer. And we'll hit save. Now that this is created, you can also go back on your different units of measures, and you can make sure you update the lookup to unit of measure class and set it to distance that you've just created. Let's refresh and update our second one as well. Distance, there we go. All right, so now that our unit of measure class and units of measures are created, we can go in and activate our units of measures first. Set those to active and hit save. And we'll do the same with our unit of measure class. We'll go back and make sure we set this to active. So we created our product, created the units of measures and the unit of measure class. Now we want to create a usage resource. So under usage resource, we'll call this FSD distance usage. So this is the usage that the resource that you are using with your usage, right? So again, let's assign a code as required to your usage resource. We'll use the unit of measure we just created. And the default unit of measure is, again, going to be kilometer. Set the status to draft. To get going, our usage definition product is going to be the usage product we just created, full self-driving. And we also want to create a usage resource billing policy, which I don't have one now. So we'll go in and create a new one. So let's simply call this one usage billing. Usage accumulation method, you're going to define on how you're going to bill this usage. Now, billing is not supported yet as of this release currently, but ultimately when it is, right, that's, I imagine, it going to be relevant to how the billing happens, right? So is it going to be based on the sum of that usage for the period? Is it going to be the peak, the first, the last, whatever it is? So we want to use sum in our case. We want to use the total usage for the full period, and we're going to do this. Code, and we're going to set the usage. Accumulation period is going to be monthly, and the status we'll set to active right away, or set the draft first. I believe we need to set it to draft and then activate afterwards. So we'll set save our usage resource. With those saved, now we can go back to our usage resource billing policy, set this to active, and finally go back to our usage resource and set this one to active as well. Be careful when you create those. I believe it currently is not possible to go back from active to another status. So once it's active, you'll have to create a new record entirely if that doesn't work. So let's hit save with that activated. Now that we have our usage resource created, we want to create a product usage grant, which is going to define the grant that comes along with our product, right? So how much usage is granted when you buy the product. Could be 0 or it could be any value, but as we said in the intro here, we want this to be 5,000 kilometers, right? That's what is available with our full self-driving product in the standard price, right? So they get 10,000 kilometer rather for the $5,000 unit price. The product we're setting for this is, again, the full self-driving. Unit of measure class is the distance we created. Unit of measure is going to be kilometers. Is the overage chargeable? Yes, it is. Status, again, we'll set the draft. And the grant is valid for 12 months. And we'll set the effective date to today. And hit save. By default on the product usage grant, there is a field missing on there. So let's go and edit object and modify our page layout. So let's go on the product usage grant layout. Make sure you add your usage definition product. Let's add this in there. Hit save. And then you're going to want to point this to, in our case, to the same product we've already set this to. So let's give it a second to see if the cache updates and we can get the field available on the layout. All right, so this is added. So make sure your product offer and usage definition products are both set on the product usage grant record. So at this point, you can already leverage what you've got so far created to add this product to a quote and see the product usage grant that comes along with this. But we also want to add rate tiers for our product. To do this, we'll need to create two rate cards rather. So we'll go to the rate card object. First, we'll create the base rate card. So what's the base fee for rating on that object, right? So base FSD rate card type is going to be base and effective as of the beginning of the month. Hit save. So this is going to be to define what the base fee is for your usage product. So then you want to create a rate card entry against this. Again, we'll select our usage resource we created previously. For product, we'll use full self-driving, product selling model, evergreen. Unit of measure is going to be kilometers. And the rate, default rate is 50 cents. Effective date, we'll use again the beginning of the month and hit save. So that's our base rate card entry. And then we want to create a second rate card. So again, go back to rate cards. And let's call this one tiers for full self-driving. The rate card type now is going to be tier. Effective from, we'll set to the beginning of the month. Hit save. Now again, we're going to want to create a rate card entry now with the same usage resource, same product selling model and product. Unit of measure again is kilometer, and then effective date will set the beginning of the month, but you don't need to set a rate in this one because we'll set an additional object under related, the rate adjustment by tier, to define the different tiers where you get discount on your product. So the base fee is 50 cents, right? And as we said in our presentation, the first tier is 50 cents, right? So the first 5,000 kilometer of overage is charges 5,000, and then 5,000 to 10,000, you actually pay 40 cents. So you're going to want to have a 10-cent adjustment on your tier, and finally above 20,000, then you're going to go down to 30, so 20-cent discount on your tiers. So the lower bound for our first tier is going to be 5,000. The upper bound is going to be 10 because the first 5 is getting billed at the full 50 cent. The adjustment type is going to be an amount. The adjustment value is going to be 0.1, right? So we're going to reduce by 10 cents at that amount. and then we'll create one more tier against this rate card entry. Now our lower bound is going to be 10,001, no upper bound, so no upper limit on this one. And the adjustment is now 0.2, and you can hit save. So we got our 2 rate cards created and effective as of the beginning of the month. We created the usage resource billing policy, the product usage grant, the usage units of measures and unit of measure class. Need to make sure that all of this is active, right? So if we go back to our product usage grant, let's make sure you set that active and make sure all the different records that you've created at this point are all activated, so you can go in and test this out. Once you make sure that everything that you've created is active, now you're going to want, the next step is going to be refreshing your decision tables. So you can, as usual, go under pricing setup, and you can sync your pricing data. And this is going to sync most of your tables, but so far in my testing, it has not refreshed the decision tables that have to do with rating. So always make sure you actually go in and refresh the decision tables that are required, and make sure if you do use the sync pricing option, and it still doesn't work, make sure that the rating tables that you need are actually refreshed. Once everything is active and you've double checked that all the records you created are active, there is one more record that you'll need to create, and it is price book rate card. So this is going to allow you to link a rate card to a price book. So far nothing exists under that object in that environment, so we'll hit new. And we'll use our standard price book, and we'll link this to our 2 different rate cards that we just created, right? So first the base full self-driving rate card, and then we can clone this one and also link our tiers full self-driving rate card that was created. And once you've got that created, now we're going to edit under setup, and we'll make sure that we update all the different decision tables that have to do with this process, and then we can finally test this against the quote. So we created a new product for this. So let's make sure we refresh our price book entry table first, and then back to our decision tables. There's going to be a couple that you're going to want to refresh on this layout, right? So there's price book rate card entries. So you want to refresh this one because we just created records under the price book rate card object. Then rate adjustment by tier entries, right? We created tiers of adjustments, so we want to make sure we do this one. We also want to double check the by tier resolution entries and refresh this one. Then we have rate card entries as well to refresh. Rate card entry resolution entries also need to be refreshed. And let's look at our last refresh date, see what got refreshed so far, and if we've missed anything. All right, so the 24th at 9:22, that's when we just refreshed this. So it is still going through, so we'll leave that going for a minute, and then we'll come back for testing. Once all your tables are refreshed, we're going to be ready for testing. So let's head on over to a quote. Now back to the quote, hit browse catalog and go in and add your products, right? So we'll add into the Tesla catalog we created earlier. Let's add both products. We'll add the Model 3 and full self-driving, and we'll add items to quote. Now that our items are added on there, let's hit save. So both come true again as regular products, right? Evergreen for full self-driving, one time for our Model 3. And this one looks standard so far, but if you click on the down arrow at the end, you're going to see a new option, price by usage. And if you click on this option, you're going to see the line item details, and then you'll see what's included. So that's our product usage grant that we've created, right? So we're granting 10,000 kilometers, and then the rate for overage is allowed, and it's going to be 50 cents. And then beyond that, you've got 2 tiers of pricing, right? So you can see the upper bound and the unit of measure, what the adjustment type is, and the adjustment value, right? So you can have those fields as editable or locked. So sales user could come in and adjust those, and you could even add more tiers to this rate tier if the user again is allowed. So we'll leave those as is, and it's safe. And our usage product is configured and added to our quote. So this was how you can set up usage-based products in Revenue Cloud. I hope this was helpful and answers some questions that you had. I know this was a highly requested one. So if you like this one, please take a minute to subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Let me know if you've got any questions or any ideas that you would like me to tackle in an upcoming video. Have a good day.